Welcome to today's webinar brought to you by Quest and Datavail. I'm Stephen Fegg, Director of Database Trends and Applications and Unisphere Research. I will be your host for today's broadcast. Our presentation today is titled The Impact of AI on the DBA. Before we begin, I want to explain how you can be a part of this broadcast. There will be a question and answer session. If you have a question during the presentations, just type it into the question box provided and click on the submit button. We're going to try to get to as many questions as possible later. Now, to introduce our speakers for today, we're very excited to have with us Amit Parikh, Strategic Solutions Principal Sales Engineer at Quest, Matt Shelvock, Product Advocate, Datavail TechBoost at Datavail, and JP Chen, the Senior Director and Global Practice Leader, SQL Server Services at Datavail. So each speaker today is going to deliver a brief presentation, and then we're going to dive into a group discussion. Without further ado, I'm going to pass the event over to our first speaker to kick things off. Welcome to the broadcast, Amit.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. And in this presentation, you're going to see why a DBAs can win with generative AI. So 63% of DBAs fear that AI could make their roles obsolete. And that's a real concern and a valid one. It reflects a growing anxiety amongst IT and data professionals. And as generative AI becomes more powerful, it's only natural to ask, what does this mean for my career? Especially in the roles that are technical, structured, or even repeatable, AI feels like both a tool and a threat. But I want to be clear, this presentation isn't just about being scared or fear. It's about exploring what's actually happening now with AI in the database world. Which use cases bring real value and which ones are just hype. And most importantly, how DBAs can stay ahead by adapting, not resisting. And the key message is that the future DBA isn't replaced by DBA. No, not at all. They're augmented by it. AI can automate routine tasks, but it can't replicate the things that a human does. Your judgment, the business context that you know, how you strategize. So this is our moment to evolve, not just survive artificial intelligence, it's to thrive with it. So let's dive in. Let's explore how to become what I call the AI augmented DBA. So many DBAs are approaching this with healthy skepticism, and there are risks. With AI, there's poor suggestions or security exposures, perhaps even performance issues. So the consensus that's forming is that it shouldn't be blindly trusted. And human expertise is irreplaceable when it comes to things like architecture, data integrity, security and access, and even performance tuning. So let's not ignore the upside that comes with using generative AI. So for example, SQL explanations or syntax and code suggestions, test data generation, routine documentation. So the DBAs who thrive won't be those who reject AI outright. They're going to be the ones who integrate it strategically. And I'd like to say it's not human versus AI at all. It's actually human with a plus point of AI, smarter, faster, better outcomes. So this AI and automation is reshaping our task, but it isn't a threat, it's an opportunity. Data-driven decisions are exploding across different industries, and skilled professionals have to manage that data. So it's very essential. And DBAs need to lean into certain things like the basics of AI and machine learning, getting familiar with anomaly detection or pattern recognition, and contributing to things like ML ops and AI ops initiatives, because AI is also a user of your data. So the more you understand the needs of AI, the more valuable you actually become. And as automation handles our repetitive tasks, those soft skills are going to matter more than ever before. So communicating technical decisions clearly, aligning infrastructure to business goals, and collaborating with other folks, right? Data scientists, DevOps, cloud teams. The future DBA isn't just a technician, they're a strategist and a connector. So the question isn't, will AI take my job? It's how could I use AI to elevate my job? So generative AI isn't just theory, it's actually transforming how DBAs work right now. And here are 3 real world examples amongst many that we could describe, but these are the 3. First is just explaining complex SQL. Now, if you redact your code, you could use this to help you translate and take hours of reverse engineering away from you. And it gives you that time back. Even tuning suggestions, red flagging inefficiencies, indexing, or even rewrite activities. Now, it might not be a silver bullet, but what it allows you to do is have a bit of a head start, right? A jump start into getting a better understanding of your code. And anything that's boilerplate, anything that can be repeated, like migration scripts, cross-platform SQL conversions, those things, go ahead and have it automated so you can bring that time back. So AI now is becoming an accelerator, not simply a replacement, allowing you to work faster with confidence. And before we discuss AI's limitations, what I want to do is highlight how Quest is helping DBAs lead this revolution. Because we're not just reacting to generative AI, we're building it with actual DBAs in mind. And some practical innovations we've already put in our tools are like, for example, what you see in our Toad products, where we add this sort of semantic layer. So with AI Explained, what we're allowing you to do is break down the legacy and complex SQL code in a matter of moments. And also with AI Ask, you're allowing yourself to build queries through the semantic layer. So you ask a question in plain English and you get an output that actually is generated SQL code in different platforms. And inferencing is actually a big thing these days, because what's actually taking place is with the amount of metrics, logs, and traces that we actually capture across the number of different platforms, inferencing has become much more difficult. And what I mean by inferencing is that you have a few of the data points, but you have an incomplete set of data, but you have to actually make an informed decision. So what you're allowing yourself to do with AI-powered alarms is speed through that inferencing. It acts almost like a virtual DBA that's on call 24/7. So across all of these things, we're boosting productivity without sacrificing any sort of control. And we support the multi-platform environments, and we innovate with a DBA-first mindset. So this isn't hype. This is practical, it's hands-on, it's augmented into the tools that you see Quest providing today. Now, innovation only matters if it's safe and accountable. And that's why Quest is leading with governed AI, built for database professionals. First, I'd like to talk about security. The integration we have with AI is embedded within your existing tools, like you've seen before, Toad and Foglight. So no data is leaving the environment. You're allowing yourself to stay compliant across, and also, with compliance, you have access controls that are remaining intact. And you have a vendor neutral design. So this works across a number of different data platforms. Transparency guarantee, no black box magic, black box, if you will. So what you have is, what you see is what you get. You understand what's being recommended. You see the algorithm and how it sort of materializes itself, manifests itself in terms of a recommendation, or perhaps what it might improve or incorporate to improve your workflow continuously. And then as far as the future is concerned, where we're investing are things like auto-tuning for databases, capacity planning, intelligent forecasting, all with the DBA's perspective in mind. So with Quest, you're not just adopting AI. What you're doing is you have a transparent and a trusted path towards AI-powered data management. Now, you might be wondering, and I think I can honestly say this, AI is powerful, but it has its real gaps. The first big thing is that it lacks any sort of business context, like your service level agreements, compliance, and other priorities. So it can be confidently wrong. Like a smart intern, it will still need oversight. And it has no accountability, no ownership, no responsibility for mistakes. It can't handle nuanced, multi-layered decisions. So it doesn't know if a query is right for your system, your schedule, your constraints. And most importantly, it can't replace your judgment, your intuition, or your leadership. So you got to use it as a co-pilot, not allow it to be the captain. And teams that strike this balance are going to win. So how do you actually start using AI in your day-to-day? What you could do is you could start small, but start immediately. Use natural language processors like Chat, Copilot for your SQL. Help it document and help you reverse engineer your code. Of course, redact and do it responsibly, but validate where it works and expose where it fails. Run an internal AI demo day. So every so often, take 30 minutes with your team to show how you solve something with AI. Encourage sharing. Build a culture of learning and experimentation and integrate it into your workflows. Performance tuning, you might ask. Well, you can ask AI for rewrite options, of course, doing it with all the prudence in mind, but you can use it to write documentation, let it build that first draft, build reusable prompts, create and share smart prompts for reusable or routine DBA tasks. That way you can standardize and improve them as a team. And the other thing that's important to note is that I take screenshots, or you could take the sets of data that you receive from monitoring solutions, and you can use AI to help you interpret the logs, the patterns, and the things that you see. So you can be curious. You of course you want to be cautious, but you also want to remain in control. And this again is not about humans versus machines. It's about humans augmented by the machine or augmented by AI. All right. So to wrap up, let's close with one key idea. The DBA role isn't going away. I'd say it's evolving. AI takes a lot of the grunt work away so we can focus on strategy. You'll spend less time troubleshooting, more time architecting, governing, and innovating. But our expertise, that's still very critical. The context, right? Our decision-making, our ability to connect the dots, those are very important. So what now? I'd say again, start a low-risk AI pilot, measure your results, share the learnings with your team, and most importantly, engage with the DBA community, such as LinkedIn. And you could learn together, you can grow together, you can lead together, because the DBAs of the future, they're already here. They're not afraid of AI, they're augmented by it. So let's become those DBAs together. Thank you very much. And now I'll hand it over to Datavail.
Right. Thank you, Amit. Right. Being a DBA isn't what it used to be. AI is changing the game. Right. It's taking over the repetitive tasks, such as index tuning, alert triage, and all the noisy work that we used to do, so that now we can focus on what really matters, such as strategy, performance, and data-driven impact. Today, we will look at how AI is reshaping the DBA role and how we can stay ahead. Hi, everyone. I'm JP Chen. I'm the Senior Director of the SQL Server Practice at Datavail. I'm really lucky, really fortunate to work with a global team of 200 plus DBAs across the US, India, Colombia, and Canada, supporting over 250 customers from startups to Fortune 500s, whether it's high availability design, cloud migration, or complex performance tuning. We can help clients manage and optimize the SQL Server environments 24/7, no matter the size or scale. Okay. I know we also have Matt here. I'm going to let him introduce himself a little bit later on. Okay. Right, just a brief intro about Datavail. We have been in business for 18 plus years, right? Tons of investments on IP, intellectual property, right? With aside from like SQL Server support, we support Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB, DB2, and name it. Okay, right. We are one of the largest database support company, right, in North America. Aside from database support, we also have application development, right, and many other critical business support areas that we also have a ton of subject matter experts on. Okay. Right. The DBA role has evolved, right? Thanks to AI and automation, tasks we used to spend hours on like index tuning, query optimization, and monitoring are now handled automatically by tools like as SQL Intelligence Insight or SQL Server Automatic Plan Correction. However, that doesn't make us DBAs obsolete. It actually elevates our role. Okay? Now we are focusing more on strategic work, such as designing modern data architectures, leading cloud migrations, ensuring compliance, and managing costs with the FinOps practices. AI is a co-pilot, right? It handles the routines so we can focus on what truly adds value, being a data strategist. Okay. AI is great at handling the routine, but it cannot replace human judgment. On the automated portion, you're going to see now AI can help you suggest indexes, right, detect anomalies, right, and auto scale cloud resources, and even fix regress queries. That's a huge win for time saving and improving efficiency. But there's plenty of things that AI cannot do. For example, it doesn't understand the business priorities or interpret why a data spike happens, right, or matters, or design scalable strategic architectures. And while it can turn individual queries, balancing the overall workload performance still requires a experienced and skilled DBA. The bottom line is this, right? AI is powerful. There's no doubt about it. AI is a powerful assistant, right? But we are DBAs, or we are still in the driver's seat when it comes to context, strategy, and big picture thinking. Today's DBA needs more than just database chops, right? You need to be cloud savvy, AI aware, and be, selection on the tools, to be smart at selecting which tool is the best for you. And most importantly, people skill, right? Cloud fluency is definitely essential, whether it's in Azure, AWS, or GCP, understanding storage tiers, scaling options, backups, and building helps you build resilient and also cost-effective systems. Right? AI and ML basics matters too. Right? You don't need to be a data scientist. However, you should know how this model, right, the ML models, AI model, how they work, so you can validate the AI-driven suggestions and collaborate with the data team, okay, the data teams. Right? AI-powered tools such as Copilot, Query Store, right? I do understand, guys, these are more like SQL Server specifics, but definitely they also apply in different platforms as well, right? These are just examples, like Copilot, Query Store, and Database Watcher are definitely, these tools are definitely game changers, right? Learning them helps you move from firefighting to forecasting, right? And don't forget the soft skills, right? Translating metrics into business impact, collaborating across teams, and justifying technical decisions to stakeholders. In short, the modern DBA is part engineer, part strategist, and part storyteller. And the best part, these are all learnable and also attainable skills. Right. Yeah, we're going to quickly look at a case study that we actually done with one of our clients that we have seen. Right. This healthcare SaaS company was seeing a slow performance creep in overtime. Indexes were piling up, and DBA team just didn't have the bandwidth for manual tuning. Okay, so we enable full automatic tuning in Azure SQL database, starting with the evaluation mode to build confidence. They let the system create missing indexes and drop unused indexes and revert back bad query plans automatically. All changes were reviewed using the portal, like Query Store and Azure SQL Insights. Yes, there's a new database watches on preview. Okay, you're going to see different terms in there, right? In terms of as a SQL insights. But all the 60 days response time actually improved up to 25% and save up to 15 to 20 hours per month in manual tuning. Plus, every automatic plan fix actually worked out fine, especially helpful for issues like parameter sniffing. So why did it work so well? Right? The workload was stable, that's number one, and telemetry was rich, and the team took smart, and the key is gradual rollout approach. Okay. So the key takeaway here is AI in Azure SQL isn't just about alerts. It takes actions. It helps DBAs focus on strategy, while it quietly handles the repetitive stuff behind the scene. The DBA role has come a long way. Yesterday, we were the custodians, focusing on backups, patches, and keeping the lights on. Success means no one noticed us. But in the cloud, many of those tasks are now automated. Today, we are optimizers and governance stewards. We are using tools like query store, automation, and AI to stay ahead of the issues, not just to react to them. And tomorrow, the DBA becomes a true strategist. We will shape data and AI readiness and guide FinOps practices and influence decisions at the business level. This is about evolving from behind-the-scenes support to being a visible driver of innovation and value. The future DBA helps lead and not just to maintain. Okay. With that, I will pass over to my colleague, to Matt. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, JP. My name is Matt Shelvock. I'm the product advocate for TechBoost at Datavail. Today, I'm going to share how our DBAs are adopting AI through our internal incident management platform, TechBoost. TechBoost is how we deliver consistent, high-quality DBA services at scale. This is our internal platform. This is not a tool you license, but it's how we manage over 300,000 databases across cloud and on-prem. It's embedded into everything we do: incident handling, automation, reporting, and executive visibility. Think of it as an engine that powers smarter support and increasingly smarter AI. This is not theoretical. TechBoost supports over 400 customers, thousands of servers, and cloud databases, and tens of thousands of jobs. We use it every day across real production environments, from Fortune 100s to mid-market clients. That scale gives us the confidence to say that we've tested this, we've tuned it, and it works. This is the heart of the conversation today. AI doesn't eliminate the need for DBAs, echoing the thoughts of my colleagues today. It makes the role more strategic. We're dealing now with more technologies, more environments, and frankly, higher expectations than ever. So we believe AI should take care of some of that manual work so that DBAs can focus on performance, planning, and real outcomes. A quick bit about us and how TechBoost fits in. Datavail manages hundreds of thousands of databases for clients ranging from startups to Fortune 500 clients. TechBoost is our internal platform. It's not an external license. It's only used within our services. So it's something that we use to manage alerts, automate some tasks, and surface insights across the environments we work within, be that SQL Server, Oracle, Postgres, Redshift, ADF, and others. When we talk about AI, we don't mean a chatbot or some magic fix. In TechBoost for Datavail, which our DBAs use, this is baked directly into our workflows. So TechBoost can look at historical incidents, metadata, and platform behavior to suggest next steps when things break. It helps our teams triage faster, respond smarter, and avoid noise that would otherwise bury a really critical signal. This is how it all comes together. TechBoost automates diagnostics. It suppresses non-actionable alerts, and it enriches every ticket with the context that DBAs need to solve. It integrates with our ServiceNow, and it runs behind the scenes. That's our ITSM solution. The result that we have between the collaboration between TechBoost and our ITSM is fewer escalations and faster, more confident action. Here's what that difference looks like day to day for our DBAs. On the left, that's life. Oops, go a little forward here. I'm going too far. Aha. This is how it all comes together here. On the left here, this is life without AI, manual triage, alert fatigues, and active firefighting. On the other side, we have everything that happens that we enable with AI. So in that case, we see enriched tickets, fewer false positives, and proactive tuning. Same team, but with the time and space to think ahead. We talk a lot about database sprawl these days, and it's real. Most organizations aren't just running SQL Server anymore. They're often managing Oracle, Postgres, Redshift, Aurora, or MySQL, often across multiple clouds. All that complexity means more alerts, more blind spots, and more pressure on smaller teams. When you layer in hiring challenges and headcount limits, it's clear the only way forward is smarter tooling. AI isn't optional. It's how we close the gap between essentially what we have and what our teams need to operate confidently. So AI for us isn't about replacing DBAs, it's giving them time to be excellent at the things that matter. At Datavail, we've built that belief into how we work. If you want to see how TechBoost supports its shifts in real environments, we'd love to talk. Thanks for listening to me share about TechBoost. Back over to Stephen.
Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you, JP and Amit as well. So it is time for our group discussion. Amit, I'm going to let you be our leadoff hitter here. A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
First question for today, how is AI automating database management, and what is remaining in human hands?
Well, I looked at the JP's use case, the one for Datavail, and I'd like to compliment it because AI is transforming those traditional DBA tasks. One of the things he had mentioned was around how you could, optimize the actual transaction itself. Indexing comes to mind. So, those are some ways that you're going to see AI transforming the traditional database role. Query optimization, we talked about that a bit. Anomaly detection, we've also talked about that as well. One other thing could be, well, JP mentioned it, forecasting. So that leads into things like capacity planning. When you have AI, you have two types, right? You have predictive and you have generative. So we can also use a lot of the capabilities that remain inside of the predictive realm, right? To help us with either the linear or even logistic regression that takes place on labels like query performance or storage capacity, I/O performance. I can go on. So I don't want to go too far into the weeds with the answer.
There's a lot of weeds, and there's a lot we can talk about in terms of automation here. JP, what are your thoughts, and what should remain in human hands? I'm sure it differs from organization to organization.
Yeah, definitely. So I know we went over some of the details during the presentation, right? Definitely, we are seeing AI, take over a lot of repetitive, the routine, and some of the pattern-based work, right? Things like tuning queries for DBAs, identifying missing indexes, or flagging like unusual performance behaviors, right? Tools like automatic tuning in Azure SQL can now suggest or even implement fixes on their own. But here's the thing, AI still need experienced DBAs. They need us. Okay? It doesn't really understand business context, okay? Right? And the compliance requirements. Right? It doesn't understand the SOX requirements unless you actually fit those data into it, right? And or how to make a decision in one area that may affect or negatively impact other systems. Right? It's really smart, but it doesn't have those things yet. Right? That's where DBAs come in, right? To guide the strategy, to connect the dots, and definitely make the final call. We still have the power to make the final call. Right?
Understood. That sounds good to me, frankly. Matt, anything you'd like to add here? I think you might be on mute, Matt. I'm not hearing you.
And we're back. Thanks, Stephen.
No
So building on JP's answer, for context there, I think that's very much in the realm of human thinking, business context, especially interpreting things like business impacts, dealing with exceptions, and future facing, the strategic portion, right? Like, how do we design and build things that we need to use in the future? Those are valuable areas that are still owned by the DBA, and AI can't figure those out for us.
Absolutely. Getting more strategic. Matt, I'm going to let you go first on this next question, and I think it's a very important one. And I think our viewers today are going to want to know what are the skills DBAs need to stay ahead of the curve here?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Stephen. So you still need database fundamentals. These are critical. That's why they're fundamentals, right? So, but layered with the cloud fluency piece, as well as that tooling awareness, right? Like, increasingly, DBAs are going to need to avail themselves to new ways of working, and AI has been the central theme here today. But also the soft skills, right? Like, we heard a lot today about translating performance insights. For technical and non-technical teams, collaborating cross-functionally across your different BUs, understanding cost impacts, knowing how to leverage AI is key in these cases, but also sort of knowing what fundamentals still need to be there.
Understood. Amit, what are you seeing?
I just want to build on the last answer from Matt. I mean, I think certifications are probably more important than ever before. There's a time and place where certifications, I think, really mean something, and I think we're at like an inflection point in the industry. And right now, I think that there's a sort of a misunderstanding of what's taking place, and I think this is also, we have to unlearn some of our own legacy understandings, legacy training, and we have to kind of relearn sort of the new architectures and also how things work in the cloud. So, taking a certification like Azure AI Fundamentals, AI 900, this is the one that I had taken. I think it's really great. It's a beginner level. There's also the Google Cloud AI Engineer or the Machine Learning Engineer. Also, if you are trying to bridge analytics and business, then you might want to look at CapEx, the Certified Analytics Professional. But I think having that certification will give you the confidence, but also really help you understand where specific AI technologies apply to use cases. I think that's super important.
I think that's a great point, and that's also a great segue to our next question, which I'm going to throw at JP, and it's kind of similar. What tools and technologies should every DBA be aware of today? What are the table stakes?
Wow. There's a lot, right? There's a lot out there. But a few of them really stand out. On top of my head, myself and my team, right? We definitely, one of our favorite nowadays is Microsoft Copilot, right? Definitely, it can do amazing things for you, right? It can help you write and troubleshoot SQL queries, right? And also the Azure SQL automatic tuning, query store, and other things like extended event or must-have for performance insight. Also, if you are in Azure, right, definitely get familiar with KQL for log analysis and Azure SQL migration extension, right? How to migrate to the cloud. And right, before I forget, definitely version control, right, and automation tools like GitHub, right, GitHub Actions are definitely becoming just as important as knowing SQL itself. Okay? These are quite important things. Now, before we move on, Stephen, I want to piggyback back on the question, like what DBAs they need to stay ahead of the curve, right? That's a quite critical one. For example, like for DBA managers and directors, for those of folks like in management, like managing the DBA team, definitely like upskilling. It's less about teaching AI concepts or theories. It's all about integrating AI into workflows, right? And definitely, I would suggest you like think about like offering like hands-on exposure for AI-driven tools like I already mentioned a few times, like Copilot, right? Automatic tuning and Azure ML for data ops, right? And encourage your team to do like experimentations, right? Just have a sandbox available where DBAs can safely do the practices, do the test runs or test recommendations, right? And also invest in soft skills like communications, analysis, and cross-functional collaboration, right? And definitely promote a mindset. It's a mindset shift, right? From like DBAs used to be executor, right? They need to stop becoming advisors, right? DBAs should be the person who actually understand like the data platforms and how they impact the business, right? And definitely, you are not training DBAs to become data scientists, but however, you're helping them to become like AI-powered professionals. That's why I call it the mindset shift.
I like that. Understood. I mean, I'd like your input on this question, and I'd also like to throw this in. Historically, and still today, there have been DBAs that have kind of staked their claim around one brand, and that's not a bad strategy. You could be an Oracle DBA and have pretty good job security there. You could be a SQL Server DBA, et cetera, et cetera. Is that still the case from what you're seeing, or is that changing a little bit?
I think I forget who mentioned it earlier, but it resonated throughout this presentation, perhaps, that the amount of platforms managed by data professionals increasing. You even mentioned the amount of we talked about this in our earlier chat about the workload and the time. So we are all becoming a +1 employee, right? It's not just our primary skill set. There's an additional skill set. So I go to the PASS Summit. This is a major conference which is sponsored by Redgate, and they put this on every year in Seattle. So this is where all the biggest and brightest for SQL Server go. And I asked them to a person, like, what's the platform adjacency that you're seeing? And they'll tell you Postgres, right? And then they'll tell you, but now what's changing is because of the different types of workloads that are introduced, now we're talking about data lakes. We're talking about unstructured data. So there's a lot of different things that are all happening right now. So my advice to anybody in the future is understand the pipeline, right? If you can understand the upstream effects of data and the downstream, and you can talk that semantically, like in English, you are going to, like it's been said by the panel, you're going to be very valuable, right? But on the flip side of that, the wherever those upstreams are is where you need to be relevant as a DBA. And right now, where is that? Those are data lakes, hybrid lakes, like lake houses. So what comes to mind? Snowflake, Databricks. I personally think Azure Fabric is where I would spend my time. The other advice I will give, I know I don't want to steal too much thunder, but always look at what's happening with technologies. Look what happened with the lift and shift into the cloud. Pay attention to what the second move is for these organizations, not the first move. Pay attention to their second move. Because I hate to say this, but a majority of these data projects do fail for whatever reason. And we can get into that later on, but pay attention to the second move that's made by organizations where they're moving the data. Any up and comer, I encourage you to become an expert or become conversant in those technologies.
That's a great point, and it brings to mind that I think it was Wayne Gretzky. You want to skate to where the puck is going to be, and I love that +1. So. And in some cases, both organizations, large and small, it could be +2, +3, +4, et cetera. So with that kind of wedding analogy in mind, Matt, what tools and technologies would you be bringing?
I think in terms of what has been said already, I think it's pretty comprehensive, but a very broad strokes way of looking at it, in my view, would be, be fluent with at least, platform native tools for the large platforms. We heard about Azure, for example, RDS performance insights, that kind of thing. But, AI enhanced platforms too, right? Copilot. We've heard from some of the other tools that exist that are more, perhaps monitor based, have some of those capabilities. But I think what's really important is understanding the whole sequence and then knowing how these tools can fit into ITSM or a broader observability ecosystem. I think that's maybe another angle that we haven't considered here, is that systemic and holistic understanding.
That makes sense. It sounds like in general, DBAs need to kind of see the bigger picture and take a broader view of things based on how things have evolved. Okay, Matt, I'm going to let you lead off with our next question. What do you see as the biggest, if you had to pick one, which might be tough, but what do you see as the biggest challenge database professionals currently face?
Oh boy, I'm going to maybe cheat a little and keep it pretty high level, Stephen, and say just keeping up, right? This sprawl of on-prem, cloud, SaaS. I think we all reference the amount of technology sprawl happening right now. We're in a very, very complex technology ecosystem these days. So keeping up is the biggest challenge, and the biggest opportunity is rising to that challenge and becoming the strategic glue that is so needed.
That's smart, keeping up. I like that. Okay, Amit, what do you see as the biggest challenge?
Yeah, pace of change, but it really flipped that coin. I think JP had mentioned it as well, where DBAs have to become data strategists. So the pace of change is the big challenge. I just want to echo that.
Yeah, I love that slide, JP, from custodian to strategist.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, JP, anything you'd add here?
Yes, very similar to Amit and Matt already pointed out, definitely the pace of change, right? The biggest challenge, right? Well, honestly, is just to keep up, right? The pace of change, especially with AI and the cloud. So it can feel really overwhelming, right? As many of us with technical backgrounds trying to keep up, there's always new and exciting things out there, right? But the opportunity is huge, right? Whenever there's challenge, there's opportunity. Right. We are actually in the moment where DBAs can level up from being reactive, what I call the fixers, right, to being proactive, strategic partner. Okay. If you just embrace it, right? Things are evolving, things are changing all the time. Right? All of us need to embrace these new changes and tools, right? If you're just managing databases, right? Because you are not just managing databases nowadays. You are actually shaping how the company will use your data, right? That's data strategies, right? How your company will use data to make more informative decisions, strategic decisions going forward. That's quite important.
Yeah, it's time to elevate, and I'm glad you mentioned opportunities, because that's my next question was going to be, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for DBAs nowadays? And what do you see?
Yeah, I think it's building on what we were talking about, right? It's now it's your chance to become closer to the AI initiatives, the real-time data pipelines, understanding self-service analytics. That means you're a data platform consultant. That's kind of the moniker that I'd like to give. And you get to shape how data is structured. You get to impact how it's governed, how it's accessed. So it's not just how it's stored. So I think when you expand into platform and data architecture, you're becoming central to the innovation, and you're not just like a supporting element.
Understood. Matt, you're seeing this too?
Absolutely. I think a really key theme here is just that extra strategic layer that the DBA needs to provide, right? That's the opportunity. We can connect data performance with business outcomes. Anytime we can do that, we're making ourselves invaluable. So DBAs can now be at the table for more conversations. We're supporting more areas. And I think that is also a big part of the opportunity, is fleshing out that that dual sort of soft skill, technical skill of strategy, right? You've got to be technical, but you have to have the soft skills to understand the environment you're within, the business needs, and the impact that you're actually creating.
That's a great point. You have to be able to communicate at the end of the day, and communicate in a way that the business folks understand, which sometimes that's a challenge. That can definitely be a challenge. All right, let's get down to brass tacks, where the rubber meets the road. Let's talk about success stories that demonstrate how AI can improve database management. Amit, I'm going to throw this at you first.
Yeah, I have a few that I could probably talk about. From a retail perspective, we have customers that are using AI-driven workload analysis to automate how they scale their cloud databases during the peak. So this is helping them reduce downtime and saving 30% in operational costs. And also from an observability angle, with our FogLight product, our healthcare customers are able to integrate AI-based anomaly detection to detect the early signs of any query regression. So, before the user starts to complain, they're able to proactively see this. One last one would be financial services. Gen AI is being employed to auto-generate like 80% of the ad hoc queries from business questions. So enabling business analysts to self-serve and free up the DBA, that type of capability to sort of wrangle data is another area where we're seeing some successes with our AI solutions.
And those aren't insignificant results either. Those are serious numbers. Matt,
Absolutely.
How about you?
Sure. One of our clients in logistics was seeing 10,000 plus alerts per month, mostly noise, non-actionable issues. So with some AI-driven noise suppression and some automatic tuning that we have within TechBoost, we were able to cut that by 80%, effectively shifting teams from firefighting, not able to ascertain what is signal here, what is noise, certainly a huge operational risk, and just pivot that away to where, that 10,000 alerts was significantly reduced. And now they're seeing, these are actually things that we can fix within our system. Our DBAs specifically, because they're the ones who use TechBoost. It's not something used externally. Essentially, the core features outside of some client reporting and other executive features that we have attached to TechBoost, it's really used by our DBAs. So they were able to do this for the business, catch this major issue, fix it, set them straight, and get them operational again. And that's with some of the noise suppression, essentially, features built into TechBoost.
That's a big difference. Yeah, that's a major difference. And there is a ton of noise. That the noise to signal ratio out there is huge. So I can see AI being incredibly useful for, you could use the term finding the needle in the haystack, but just cutting through it at the end of the day. JP, anything you'd like to add here?
Sure. Well, we have a lot of examples, right? So what comes to mind is one client actually had a performance bottleneck in an Azure SQL database during peak hour. Okay? By enabling automatic tuning specifically for the last grid plan, right? That's for Azure SQL DBAs. Okay? For indexing recommendations, we actually saw a query time that actually dropped by 30% in just 1 week. Right? Another example comes to mind is another client actually used query store's performance regression detection, right, to catch a plan change before end users even notice anything was wrong, right? That kind of proactive fix, these just wasn't possible a few years ago, right? These are things that nowadays AI enable us to do.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and it's evolving exponentially. It's hard to imagine where we'll be at 3 to 5 years from now, just based on what we've already seen, which is pretty amazing. So this next question is probably my toughest one for you guys. I had to include one curveball. Amit, we'll start with you. I don't mean to torture you, but I want your input on this. What trend are you most excited about right now?
I'm actually putting together a hypothesis, and I'm sure a lot of other folks doing the same. But I'm placing my bets on AI observability, and what I mean by that is things like where the models, the pipeline, and the infrastructure are generating telemetry across things like the GPU usage, latency, data quality, query performance. So that's where I want to go, is sort of the rise of AI observability, linking the GPU, the model, the database, and the infrastructure telemetry to create like a full stack view of how AI works and behave. So imagine, for example, linking a spike in Snowflake credits to an unexpected AI workload, or looking at GPU saturation with database slowdowns, or predicting the performance degradation combined with model and data telemetry. So, tools like Foglight, for example, which we own, there are other observability solutions in the market. Okay, I speak for Foglight, but there's OpenTelemetry. There's also the machine learning observability platforms. Try to converge them and create a new class of insights. So DBAs who already understand how performance impact business are now positioned to be leaders in that space. So that's where I'm placing my bets.
That makes a lot of sense. And it isn't just where are the issues, how can we optimize? It's a cost issue as well.
Correct.
All this costs lots and lots of money. JP, what trend are you most excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about Copilot, right? I know I already mentioned it a few times, right? Definitely how Copilot are being integrated and baked into tools that we DBA already use, like SSMS, Data Studio. I know Data Studio is expiring; you're gonna have a new tool, but and also even the Azure portal, right? So the Copilot definitely integrated into all these tools that DBA has already been using, right? It's like having a smart assistant, right, sitting right next to you, helping you troubleshoot or explain what the query is actually doing. Okay? It's making advanced performance tuning and diagnostics way more accessible, right? Even for junior DBAs or folks like transitioning from other roles into DBA, right? Definitely making life so much easier, right? Copilot, something I'm quite excited about.
Understood. Matt, what has you most excited right now?
My answer is similar to Amit's. I'm really excited about the visibility side. I'm excited for us to not just be reacting with data and collecting it better, but also forecasting, right? We're seeing platforms evolve from triage to prediction. And I think that's really interesting as we build more AI capabilities into the tools that DBAs use. I'm interested in spotting ahead of time what might break based on subtle trends that we're seeing now, what might break in the future, that is to say. So I'm really interested in the forecasting elements. I think we'll be able to do it in ways that we've never quite been able to do in the past.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So I have one more question for you. Amit, we'll start with you. If there is one thing you'd really like our attendees today to walk away keeping in mind, what would that be?
I said it in my presentation, and I think all of us here on this panel, four of us, I think I speak for all of us in that don't fear automation, lead it. The DBA role is not going away. It's simply evolving. But be the person that connects the dots. So DBAs sit in a unique spot amongst everything that's in the service model, okay? The infrastructure, the application teams, analysts, and increasingly now the AI team. So this makes us invaluable if you lean in. So ask yourself, right? Are you curious about where the data flows? Am I learning new tools and trends before I'm told to? And am I showing leadership by making complexity simpler for others? And because automation is going to keep evolving, but won't change the need for the people that understands all of this. So that would be sort of the answer I have to that question.
I think that's fantastic advice. JP, how about you?
Yes, if there's one thing when DBAs and everyone watching to keep in mind is we have to start somewhere. Start small, right? But you have to do it now. You have to start now. And don't wait to be told to learn AI about cloud or automations, right? Pick a tool. Pick something you are comfortable with, like Copilot, Crystal, or even other automation tools that, like AI automation tools that you may have or have in mind, and start exploring how it can help you in your day-to-day activities. Right? Remember, the future DBA isn't just a technician; they are a strategist, right? And the point is, the earlier you lean into that mindset, the more valuable you're going to become in the future.
I think that's also great advice. And I like that you mentioned starting small, because I'm sure it can feel quite overwhelming. We've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about a lot of different skills, tools, technologies, etc. Matt, what would your one thing be?
My one thing would be, don't wait around for AI to replace DBAs, because that's not happening, but it is redefining the role very strongly. And so those DBAs who succeed are going to be the ones who lean in, use the tools, and truly position themselves, Stephen, as a translator, in my mind, between data, performance, and strategy.
Also great advice. Well, I would like to give a huge thank you to our speakers today for coming on board and sharing their insights and expertise. Once again, everybody, Amit Parikh, Strategic Solutions Principal Sales Engineer at Quest, Matt Shelvock, Product Advocate at Datavail TechBoost at Datavail, and JP Chen, Senior Director and Global Practice Leader, SQL Server Services at Datavail. So if you in attendance would like to review this presentation or share it with a colleague, you can use the same exact URL that you used for today's live event. This will be archived, and you will receive an email notification once that archive is posted. And if you want a PDF of the deck, you can download that once the archive is live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon.